Okay, so we're back. This time with this thing of absolute beauty that Eureka Entertainment has given us. The Legend of the Eight Samurai. Okay, so this not long been released, but there's a bit of a story to go along with this one, as there so often is. So of course, my love affair with Hiroyuki Sanada goes back a long way. And during that time, of course, you spend the time going through the Internet Movie Database and looking at the list of credits and thinking, what hidden gems might be in amongst all this lot. And sure enough, this one was one of them. We've been quite lucky, really. We've been very, very lucky, in fact, over the recent years with the wealth and embarrassment of riches that we've been getting from the various boutique labels, be it Eureka or 88 Films or Arrow Video, and that one's up and coming as well, Radiance. We've been getting some really, really great stuff. Of course, all this Jackie Chan stuff and just all the stuff from Hong Kong and obviously Japan as well. And this is just the latest in a long line. But this one, Legend of the Eight Samurai, it was just one that jumped out at me, and I thought, right, I'll make a mental note of that, and I'll see about, getting it in due course. Of course, this is way before this was ever a thing. So at the time, they had again, you gotta love Germany because they love their physical media. Germany had put this film out on Blu-ray. So I'd ummed and ahed about getting it. Ultimately, never did. It was just, because I couldn't help thinking in the back of my mind, just I wonder if eventually, and it had a similar kind of thing with, well, a couple of films, but a good example might be Tai Chi Master. I was looking at that one not long ago, albeit before the 88 Films Blu-ray was released, and I was thinking, well, it's available on DVD, and I ultimately decided, yeah, I'll go and get the DVD. But obviously, there was part of me when 88 Films announced, yeah, Blu-ray release Tai Chi Master. I was like, I should have waited, but it's all right though, because we sorted that one, so we covered that base, so that one's all right. So it wouldn't have been a problem if I'd have pulled the trigger on the German Blu-ray, but we waited, and we've been really, really well rewarded, to say the least, with this. This is a thing of incredible, immense beauty. So, yeah, obviously we've got this wonderful. We'll go into the release itself before we talk about the film, because this was the first time I've actually seen this film, so it was a dice roll, but, well, I can tell you in advance that it more than paid off. So we've got this wonderful slipcase, got beautiful, beautiful artwork that was commissioned for this release. Obviously, this is going to be specific to this, special edition release. And, of course, you've got the back with some great screen grabs from the film. But, this is beautiful. And one of the things that's always great with these releases is you get some great, great original artwork for each particular film. Obviously, you saw there another example of artwork for the Tai Chi Master release is stunning. This is as well, but then I took the sleeve off and saw what was waiting for me on the actual, cover art for the Blu-ray itself. And man, oh man, oh man. Obviously, this is, I imagine, what's going to be, later on we'll do a standard edition release without the slipcase and just the actual box. What was waiting for me? Oh man, I'm sorry. I prefer what's on here. Look at this. That is pretty spectacular. What a great, great image that is of the princess with the bow and arrow. Now, this particular imagery, they used that, if I remember correctly, on the German Blu-ray. So you know, it's nice that this has been a bit of a recurring piece of imagery. But that is fantastic. And when you get to that scene in the actual film, it's awesome. It's all, but again, it's fantastic. I like so I prefer that. It what a great shot. But yeah, this film, what a surprise. I mean, of course, starring Hiroyuki Sanada and starring Sonny Chiba. And I always love when they're together because obviously, you know, the history between Hiroyuki Sanada and Sonny Chiba. Of course, in many ways, Sonny Chiba was like a father to Hiroyuki. So it's always so lovely to see them together in a film. But in addition to that, in addition to like the personal connection, they're both absolutely fantastic, you know. So it's just a treat to see them on screen. And when they're together, you just know it's going to be something special because they're both absolutely brilliant in their own right. But what a fun film. And again, of course, directed by Kinji Fukusaku. And from what I can gather, it seems to be a bit of a recurring thing, this. The three of them together. Because obviously you got this one, you had Samurai Reincarnation, and then you had, of course, Message from Space, which I have finally, after and ahhing about it and saying, "Oh, I'll get it," I finally pulled the trigger on Message from Space, and it's coming. It's en route. But incidentally, very much connected with this film is Message from Space. Basically a retelling of the same story, but just with a different, you know, should we say aesthetic? But more, you might say, because that one was made earlier, so that was like dress rehearsal, and then you had this one, which is kind of like what we've been waiting for. So what was Message from Space? 78, because it was just after Star Wars. This was 83. So yeah, this was so we had the warm up. Then half a decade later, we're in for the real thing. But my God, this film doesn't waste any time. Um, the opening title sequence is just something to behold. And what was apparent right from the get go, this film is not what I thought it was going to be, because it's just so out there. Obviously, there's very much a sword and sorcerer element to it. It's a sword and sorcery movie very much, but then there's just all kinds of like this. You get kind of like almost like a Flash Gordon vibe from it, and you kind of think, well, going hand in hand with Sword and Sorcerer, the film, you know, this is kind of a film that you could see Albert Pune being involved with. But yeah, Kinji Fukusaku, what a great filmmaker he is, because you can always see the quality and the creativity showcased. Obviously, very much apparent in Samurai Reincarnation. Also, a wonderful samurai drama he did, The Fall of Akko Castle. Again, just a very, very well crafted film. And obviously, everyone loves Battle Royale, and deservedly so. That film really is something special. But a guy who can just. He's. You know, he can bring such a different feeling to whatever he's like. This is very, very different from something like The Fall of Akko Castle, and uh, but the flair and the style that's on display and the creativity that's oozing out of the film, it's great. And also, again, just touching on the specifics of this Blu-ray, stunning. Picture, sound, great. And again, what a way to experience it for the first time. You know, the film looks basically brand new. I mean, it's a 4K restoration, so they've done a remarkable job. But what an experience. But right from the get-go of this film, you're like, oh, we're in for a treat. You know, it's in a very particular gear, and you just think, right, this is gonna be a romp. Again, it's metal as all hell. There you go. Probably got a strong. Yeah, you could liken it to Conan in some ways. But it's great. We've got a great cast of characters. You know, the eight samurai, and of course the princess, who's the leader. She's a great character. But yeah, you know, it's a really really fun story. Again, when you boil it down to its basic component parts, you know, it's a good old tried and tested story. You know, our band of heroes, you know, teaming up to overthrow the evil force. So obviously, said evil force, it's taken over this castle, and then we got to, you know, hunting down this princess, but she's got to unite these eight samurai heroes, and then they've got to basically, you know, overthrow the evil. And as you might expect, it all builds up to one climactic battle at the castle. Who knew? But one of the great things about this is, you know, they use a lot of like the natural landscapes and the open plain, and that's great. But when we get to this castle, oh, the set design. Honestly, this is, you can see that this film's been a labour of love because the set design is incredible, and the costuming is first class. Everything in this film looks spectacular. You can see that everybody involved in this was wanting to create something very special, very unique. Everyone working on this film's clearly bringing their A game. So it's spectacular to look at. And then of course the action set pieces, some real creative set pieces. Again, we do get wacky and we do get out there, of course, where with which it's all in good fun. But then, of course, the big climactic battle at the end when we do basically the raid on the castle. In terms of the choreography and the way it's shot, like there's scenes where we break through the gates, and just the way it's filmed, like we're going in with the troops, the way they're shooting, there's a lot of like wide shots as well where you can see the whole sequence taking place in the frame, and everything's just very very well done, and everyone's great. Like choreography, Sonny Chiba, we know how good Sonny Chiba is. And then Hiroyuki Sanada, good God. When we get into that final battle, because he's kind of like the front and centre of the whole thing, but like I say, there's some spectacular roundhouse kicks that our man is throwing. He's great. And what the thing about Hiroyuki Sanada, he's an incredible actor. He's a fantastic martial artist and swordsman. But in addition to that, just taking time to appreciate what a fantastic athlete this man is. And again, this is all thanks to Sonny Chiba, because of course Hiroyuki Sanada lost his own father very young, and then was kind of taken in by Sonny Chiba, and of course was one of his students, you know, and Sonny Chiba held the view that there's certain skills that people in the film industry should possess, and obviously saw to it that Hiroyuki Sanada was given these skills that he's gone on to utilise in incredible ways. So it's just, I just think one of the things that always makes me smile as well, even when I was watching this, thinking Sonny Chiba must be so proud. Well, again, it's sad that he's not around anymore. I wish he could have seen Hiroyuki win the Emmy and the Golden Globe, but again, obviously, it's sad that he's no longer with us. But again, but what a wonderful, wonderful film, and just it's so fun. The soundtrack to this thing, Jesus, and it starts right from the get go, because we get this obviously, you know, this great ballad, well, rock ballad over the opening titles, and it's great. And then of course just the very very synthy score throughout, which is cool. And then Hiroyuki Sanada's character has a very interesting arc throughout, because he starts in the first part of the film. His character's a very reprehensible character, But then, of course, as the film goes on, he goes through an arc, as you'd hope he would. And basically, then there's kind of like a love story that starts to unfold between him and the princess. And you think, well, of course, I mean, you know, it's Hiroyuki Sanada, why wouldn't she fall in love with him? But then, oh man, then there's a gear switch as we just before the final battle or before we gear up for the final battle, where we have a full-on love scene and we get a full-on love ballad, and the film goes on and it sticks with this for maybe best part of 5 minutes, and it's like, yeah, this film's got something for everybody apparently. But then we build up to the big final battle and it's great. And then, like, I don't know whether you want to call it the wrap-up segment at the end. And it's a weird thing to say for a film like this, but what a lovely ending. You're like, honestly, this film was released, what was it, the 17th of February? But just after Valentine's Day. Honestly, the ending of this film alone, it makes it this would be a great Valentine's Day movie. I'm telling you, because it's just so lovely. And again, you look at, like, you know, The Legend of the Eight Samurai. Oh, it's got a lovely ending. The couples would love it. It's one of these things. It's not like the other, but it's great and it leaves you on a high. It really does. Speaking of which, though, soundtrack, I was like, oh, I gotta get on it. I gotta get in on this. So I made my first purchase through Discogs. I've got the soundtrack on vinyl. Well, I've ordered it. It's en route. But that's gonna be great. Fire up the turntable and get that. That's gonna be great. But honestly, what a really, really lovely film. One thing I will ding Eureka on, though, because from what I understand, the special edition of Message from Space comes with a poster. This film, or this release of Legend of the Eight Samurai, it comes with a booklet, which is great. Unfortunately, no poster, and I'm sorry, it breaks my heart because, again, going back to this, I would love to have this framed, but again, it wasn't meant to be. But yeah, I mean, you never know what might come on down the line. Eureka, if you do another version, if you do another special edition, please give us a poster. But from what I can gather, the vinyl that I bought of the soundtrack has basically that as the cover. So that in full... we all love a full 12-inch if we can get it. So we're going to get that in 12 inches. So that'll be something to experience. So I'll keep you posted on that. But that pretty much brings this to a close. Again, what an absolute joy. Everyone in this film is great. Of course, you know, Sanada, Sonny Chiba, we'll take that as read. And then, of course, just the whole colourful cast of characters. We've got Sister Street Fighter in here. And her character in this is badass. I'd put her up there with Julia Stell as the operator from The Night Comes For Us. She's great. And then, of course, like, in terms of our big bads, you've got, obviously, you know, you've got, like, the mother, who's, like, the sorceress. Now, we've got to talk about her, because she's great. And right from we open the film with the big bads, so we see them right from the get-go. Before we meet any of our heroes, we're introduced to them. Now, she's basically the first one, because I think she has, if not the first lines of dialogue, she has the lion's share of the dialogue for the opening scene. But her performance, like, oh, she's made a choice here, and we're all going to benefit from it, because it's one of those wonderful performances. And even in the way, obviously, the Japanese language is a wonderful language, especially for villains. But the way she delivers her dialogue is like, yeah, it's working. But yeah, I've got to spotlight her, the sorceress. She's great. absolutely great. But again, this was something special, and what a surprise, because basically this was a blind dice roll. I just, it was one of those films I wanted to get it because Sanita's in it, of course, Sonny Chiba. And then finally being released on Blu-ray, so I was like, yeah, add it to the collection, come on, bring it in. And I didn't expect I got what I got, and what a surprise. It's always nice when that happens, but yeah, that brings this to a close. Great film, wonderful, wonderful Blu-ray. Definitely pull the trigger on it. It's worth it, and I've kind of beat George Clark to the review. I'm sorry to say that, but I'm looking forward to George Clark's review of it any day now. But hey, that wraps this up. Thank you for listening to me ramble. I hope you've enjoyed it. And again, if you're a fan of the film, I hope you have the chance to get your hands on this. If you haven't seen the film, what a way to see it. So definitely, yeah. It's schlocky in parts, absolutely. It's romantic in parts, which came totally out of left field. But it's metal as all hell. So thank you for listening to me yammer on about it. I hope you've got something out of it. And thank you again. I'll see you in the next one, whenever that may be. Bye bye for now.